suppose people kind of always like to start with a kind of like a memorable gig story that
Right.
you've got. And there's one you kind of just go, I love telling that story of that gig.
Yeah. I mean, the sad fact is that when you've been doing it as long as I have, you do rack up so many utterly appalling experiences. You do forget some of them until somebody else reminds you of them.
Yeah.
I can remember one in Dumfries where a guy, this ended in a fight. I mean, basically these guys, I think the guys get thrown out, then came back in again and started a fight with other guys at the gig. But it started with one guy in the audience heckling Bruce Fume, who was on stage at the time, by taking his own false leg off and stick it on top of his head with the kind of foot pointing upwards. And then he stood up. I mean, it was amazing because he was absolutely bladdered. It's amazing he could stand.
So he stood on one leg?
Stood on one leg and did a kind of little movement with his body, so he was facing the audience, and he said, "Oi, look at me, I'm the Isle of Man." Brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Get him on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I did use that story on stage quite a lot, but then they get nicked by Jason Cook.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Someone else who was at the gig that stole it?
No, he wasn't even at the gig. I just told him.
fuck?
I told him the story.
So how did that then turn into a fight? That guy was...
I think that guy was in the fight. He wasn't the worst member of the audience, believe it or not. He was kind of the voice of sanity.
Fuck.
It was a pub run by Gary Little's sister.
Okay.
It was me, Gary, Bruce Fume, and it might be somebody else.
Definitely not Jason Cook, though.
Definitely not Jason Cook. No, I just told Jason Cook the story. He started telling it on the stage. In fairness, well, no, not in fairness. He told me, "Oh, I'm saying it happened to you," but then I saw various people who said, "No, you did that story and didn't say it happened to you." And then he said he was doing, and this is, you think, this is a fucking lie, right? He said he was doing warm up for a radio show,
Okay.
as well as being in the radio show, and he used that story in the warm up. But it ended up in the edit of the show.
Oh, that's...
Well, that's got why. I mean,
Yeah, can't do that.
Well, it's kind of credited me with no experience or intelligence to know that nothing a warm-up act did in the warm-up would ever end up in the edit of a final product.
They must have been scraping the barrel for that to have ended up in the final edit. That's madness.
No, it's bullshit. Anyway, so he said he'd buy me a bottle of whiskey.
Did you ever get that bottle of whiskey?
No, I didn't. Right. He said, "Oh, I'll buy you a bottle of whiskey." Now, what's your favourite whiskey? So I said, "I quite like Lagavulin." He said, "Oh, that sounds quite expensive." I said, "Yeah, well, it is, but
You can't offer it to buy.
yeah, you've offered to buy me a bottle of whiskey for nicking my joke. I'm assuming you get paid for the radio show." And the warm-up, although I tend to think the warm-up story was a lie. He wasn't even doing the warm-up.
Yeah, Dumfries is a pretty wild place.
It is.
I did one gig there when I very first started out. I drove down there on a Tuesday night.
Oh, God, right, yes.
Yeah, and I think it was in the big hotel, and I got there, and the guy was just like, "Yeah, there's not really an audience," and I was just like, "What?" I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know that things could happen.
Yeah.
I just thought, I'm driving down for this big gig on a Tuesday night, and got there, and he went, "Yeah, look, I'll have to just call it off." And it's like 3 hours or something like that.
Yeah, 2 at least.
And I was just like, holy shit. And then eventually they dragged like 4 people in from the bar, held them hostage at this gig, and we all did it.
Right.
And it was fucking awful.
Was that Roggefort?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah. I think somebody says that's still running.
No, surely not, is it?
Oh, that, Roggefort, every time I've done it, it was really busy the week before. I'm sure it's the same when you did it. I can't understand this. I once did it for some reason. That's right. I'd been doing a gig in Newcastle the night before.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, I'll get somebody to drive you back to Edinburgh." Because I said, "Well, I'm down Newcastle without my car."
Yeah.
So I get the train from Newcastle to Dumfries, which is an experience in itself.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, man, it just like takes fucking hours.
Yeah.
I got a lift back from a comedian. Well, nah.
Comedians probably stretching it,
Yeah, it is. I think even Open Spot stretching it to a guy called Davy Mitchell. Now, you must remember Davy Mitchell.
Yes, he's been mentioned a few times on the podcast.
I'm sure he has. He could do a Davy Mitchell podcast. Now, Davy Mitchell was, yes, dreadful, absolutely dreadful, and mentally ill. And so he's given me a lift back to Edinburgh. Now, he had just split up from his wife at the time,
Right.
who stayed in Pennycook.
Right.
That's when he. I think that's when he started out his wonderful attempt to bring down the comedy industry single-handed.
In Pennycook?
I think his first gig was in. He used to do gigs in places like Pennycook and Peebles and kind of.
Oh my God.
But I was fortunate never to do one of his gigs.
The same.
Aye.
Yeah, but when I started, he was kind of on the way out,
Right.
and it was always the kind of he was this kind of famous guy that I never got to meet, but everyone always spoke so poorly of his gigs.
But him, I mean, it was just dreadful. And let's say he was barking mad, and like in retrospect, he probably was suffering from serious depression because, he drank a hell of a lot at that gig, and I thought, well, this is my only way of getting home.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause
So
he
he's
must
the
have-
driver. Fuck.
Yeah, he was the driver that was going to take me back to Edinburgh.
You're watching him just getting absolutely loaded up.
He must have been about 4 pints, and I think was probably on antidepressants at the time.
Right.
And there were a couple of times he nearly went off the road. And he was basically going on how much shit his life was. And I think, oh, fuck me. And then when we were coming up the A702, when you come through West Linton,
Yeah.
then you get to a turn off, not long before you come into Edinburgh,
Yeah.
where there's a sign pointing to the road to Pennycook.
Yeah.
And that's when he got most maudlin. I should be going down that way. It's a small my wife is, and she's taking the house. And I thought, God, I am potentially a passenger in a guy who's going to use his car to commit suicide.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know how he's driving. He's all over the place, and you're just like, get me home.
Yeah. His plan for the night was at the time, he was an electrician in the Western General Hospital.
Right.
And his plan for the night, after he dropped me off on Ferry Road, which is just down the road, he was going to stay the night in the Western General.
In the hospital.
Well, the way he was driving, he could have been staying.
Yeah, he was going to get out of bed. Yeah. Fucking hell. Was there anyone kind of like, as you were kind of like starting up, that kind of looked out for you and probably like gave you spots, kind of helped, kind of get you through the ranks, everything like that?
Well, yeah, I didn't start out in Scotland. I started out, I first started out in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Because I'd been at college there, stayed for years. I'd been an actor, I'd been in some sketch shows, done quite a lot of stuff like that. And then I was in a sketch show that had 4 people in it. And then 2 of them left. One of them fucked off with the money.
Oh, fuck's sake.
And
a lot of money?
Nah, not much
from
money.
A sketch show, that's not,
No,
it's not the big bucks.
we did make some money because we were on the regional arts programme on Tyne-Tees Television, which was filmed in the same studio where they filmed The Tube.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, The Tube, people remember The Tube is massive, iconic series from the 1980s, like probably one of the highest rated youth TV, not so much, it wasn't even youth TV, it was music TV, it was Starty Weekend, people used to, and Muriel Gray was one of the presenters, and Muriel Gray was also presenting this regional arts programme from the same studio, but Muriel's popularity from The Tube didn't translate to the ratings for this show. So it was, now, it was something like 11 o'clock on a Thursday night. And that was in the days when TV shut down.
Yes, the test card at the end of the night.
Yeah, the test card, right. So this was on Tyne-Tees Television after the BBC had closed down for the night. So it was about 11:30, something like that. And the test card of BBC One got higher ratings than that show did.
That's so depressing.
So
That's time to quit your show.
yeah. But we got paid money for that, and then we took this. We came to the Fringe. But we also took the show on tour, and in those days, there were a lot of kind of funded art centres that had budgets.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And we must have had in the publicity that we did the show on Times Television, and they said, because it mentioned something to do with Newcastle on the publicity. So I think it must have said, "As seen on Times Television, the works by." As seen by fewer people than the test card. But anyway, we did this show at the Mechanics Institute in Burnley, which is actually a council-funded arts centre.
Okay.
But it was what was the old Mechanics Institute, and they kept the name. The Burnley Mechanics Institute, we did a show there, and when we turned up, they said, look, we've only sold one ticket.
Been there.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. So only sold one ticket. But we were on a guarantee. And I think if we'd cancelled, I think we wouldn't have get paid. And they, I can't remember if they insisted or if we thought, well, we might as well, because we're in Burnley, there's bugger all else to do in Burnley. We'd already got there. We had a B&B, so no point in having a night out in Burnley.
Yeah.
One guy, right? We did 2 45-minute sets with an interval. And the guy came back for the second half. Yeah, he came back for the second half. And
Oh my God.
he must have been about 80. He was right ancient. So, see, it's fine to talk about this guy because he definitely will be dead by now. Whereas David Mitchell may well still be alive.
Still out there, yeah.
Yeah, and Jason Cook is doubtless still stealing other people's material. Anyway, this guy, right, he thought, because, well, you've had one person, you were saying.
Yeah.
And, other people we know have had one. Some people have written a show about it. Robin was the preview after mine last night, and I said to him, I could hear he was at the back of the room, could hear him laughing a couple of times. He kind of came in towards the end. So I said, look, next show on is Robin Granger. He had one person at his Fringe show last year, so that's his show this year. So if one of you wants to come back, I think you should go up to the bar and draw lots as to who's going to be Robin's audience. He loved it. Right? Anyway, so one guy, right? Now think about I've had no people.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Well, it's not. It's shit. But you think, well, there's no decision to be made with none.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. You can't do it. Yeah.
We're all going home.
Yeah. And you just put that one down to experience. You think, well, for some reason, nobody came tonight.
Yeah.
One person, you have to make a decision. But secondly, with one person, it fucks with your head because half of you is thinking, why is nobody here? Try and think of all the reasons that nobody's there.
Yeah.
But also the other half of you is thinking, well, the fuck's this one guy turn up? What made this person come to the show? So we thought, we'll talk to him after the show. He did a real broad Lancashire accent. And we said, I was wondering why it was he came to the show. He said, well, I saw on the posters that you come from Newcastle. And I was in Newcastle during the war. That was it. That's the reason the guy came.
That's his connection. You shouldn't have bothered me.
Yeah.
We could have gone home.
Yeah. This was worse than the Blitz. So what was... He said, oh, yeah, all right, okay. And what bit did you enjoy most? He said, well, I quite like that music you played before the start. Brilliant.
Could have just played that for you. Could have just played that for you and sent you on your way. Oh my God.
So various people kind of help me on the way. I mean, I think as a performer, you kind of learn from a lot of the people you work with who've been around for longer than you. And I think with me as well, it was kind of I learned from a lot of, from acting days, you kind of learn from other actors, you learn from directors and stuff. And I was quite lucky early on to work alongside a lot of people who were like, I mean, Hattie Hayridge was someone who was always very supportive of new acts when they were on the bill with her. Bill Bailey did quite a lot did quite a lot of university gigs with Bill.
Right.
And that was just an inspiration to work with Bill because it was different every night.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fascinating act.
Yeah.
No one like him.
Yeah, no. I mean, and the thing about him is he's just such an incredibly talented musician.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was... and round about the time that I was coming up to do my first hour at the Fringe, where I actually didn't do straight stand-up, I did character. I did Bob Doolally, that was the first time I did that. Bob Doolally, for purposes of people who don't know, is a character act that is based on a number of, guys, most of whom are dead now. Kind of icons of 1970s football.
Yeah.
And he's just a washed up old guy with a serious drink problem and even more serious anger management issues.
Yeah.
And I was kind of writing this character. I decided to do it at the Fringe, and then I was very lucky I got a whole load of work on the National Comedy Network that was run by Avalon.
Okay.
To gigs mainly into universities and art, but did the odd art centre gig. And two people I worked with were that really, I mean, didn't ever give me any direct advice, but just seeing the way they worked in that context with doing character comedy were a huge inspiration. With Al Murray,
Yeah.
because I did a whole batch of gigs on that tour with Al, doing The Pub Landlord. And it was quite interesting to see how Al kind of worked with an audience that were getting his material for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
Because that was actually pretty left wing, and the whole idea behind The Pub Landlord is just kind of shaven-headed, Brexit voting.
Which is a testament to how well he did that.
Yeah.
Is it so many people thought that was him?
Yeah, absolutely.
They didn't know that was a character.
Oh, God, yeah. I remember once doing Jongleurs at Camden Lock with Al, and he came off actually quite upset because the audience were getting it the wrong, and he was, he used to say, "Hi, the French," and he's going, "Yeah!"
Fuck.
Anyway, that was because I just thought how you can use a character to, get your point across by actually undermining yourself. And somebody else I worked with who I haven't seen him for years, a guy called Sean Cullen, who's a Canadian act. He was in a 3-piece musical comedy act called Corky and the Juice Pigs, of which Phil Nichol was a member.
That's how I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, and Sean then did this character act called Dame Sybil, who was this old theatrical type.
Yeah.
And, the harder the gigs got, the more surreal it became.
Right.
Rather than... Because actually, when you're dressed in drag, pretending to be a 90-year-old female actor... You kind of, especially if you're doing gigs in student unions, you can't really meet the audience halfway anyway.
Yeah.
So he just would make it even more difficult for himself.
I've not got the balls to do that.
No,
I couldn't do
right.
that. I'm like, this gig has to go well.
Yeah. I've seen people, some of my favourite comics, we used to do that. Parrot, who was a phenomenal comedian when he was at his height, he used to intentionally go on and be shit.
Yeah.
So he could turn it around.
It's mental. Just to think, if it doesn't work...
Yeah, I know.
You've just ruined the gig.
Yeah, I know. Someone who just still does that, and he's someone I've got... I mean, he's a mate. In fact, we kind of started out around about the same time in Newcastle. He's a really good friend, and he's a phenomenal comedian, and he's Gavin Webster.
Yes,
Gavin,
Gav, yeah.
Often goes on stage and just pretends to be shit. Especially with his Fringe show. His Fringe show always starts really shambolic or very left field because he knows he's got a whole hour to bring these people back. And but you sometimes see him doing a 20-minute set, headline set, and for the first 10 minutes, God, I
can't get that. But there's no part of me that would want to even try that. Because it just to me, I'm like, I've got 20 minutes, this 20 minutes just go as well as possible. And just to have the confidence to go, I'll burn it for 10 and then I'll bring it back.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Wow. So Gav can do that as well.
No, hey, man, because he's such a phenomenally funny guy.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
I did a preview with him just back in May. It was one of my first previews of, we were both doing 40 minutes each of the Standard Newcastle. And Gav just had ideas. There weren't even notes.
And he's just going off.
Yeah. And it was absolutely hilarious.
Very funny guy. Yeah, I was on after him at the Beehive last year.
Oh, yeah.
So I literally just had he has a full room most nights. So I just exit his show to a bunch of happy audience members, and then they would just come back into my show. And I was like, brilliant.
I forgot he was doing the Beehive, because he does the Beehive.
And he was doing the stand.
He was doing stand too as well.
Yeah. So I was just like, this is excellent. This is so good.
Yeah.
Because I think he even was nice enough to kind of give me a shout out to be like, there's a show on after this.
Oh, right. Oh, good.
So I hang around. So it's just all those kind of wee nice moments in comedy where it's just where people say, don't be a dick in comedy, just be nice.
Yeah.
It goes so far, and people always appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is the thing, I mean, about comedy is, I think people often ask you, I get asked this all the time, is anybody you don't like? And there's actually very few people.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I mean, there are some dicks. There's actually less dicks around than there used to be.
Yeah.
I think when Jongleurs went out of business, that took a lot of the dicks off the circuit.
Oh, really? That just kind of wiped them out, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of them were just in it to make money, and it wasn't about having a good time or just real hack type acts. And I think the demise of Jongleurs, and I'm not. This is not wishful thinking, because I genuinely think this is true. The demise of raucous stag doos going to comedy shows, you hardly ever get that now. Yeah. And that's meant that a lot of these guys who their only tool in the box was dealing with raucous stag doos. It's not comedy. That's
that's it.
Caring the community.
They should just have their separate show if you want to do that. Yeah. Go elsewhere.
Some people couldn't actually function without there being hecklers in the room.
Yeah. It's like the people that kind of they thrive on doing comedian destroys heckler videos online, and that's all they want. So just write some good material, have some good jokes, make the show fun for everyone. Where they just want that little 15-second clip, and you're like, that's not. You're in it the wrong fucking reasons, man.
And I mean, I'm not wanting to sound too up my own arse.
Go for it.
But what we do is art. So it's in any other art form, be it music of any stripe, folk music, pop music, classical music, opera, or theatre, or painting, or photography. You don't go out just to deal with difficult people. You're expressing what you want to express. So the idea that all you want to express is having a go back at some drunken idiot is why are you in the business? But I have noticed even stag doos, you used to get stag doos that would just go to destroy the show. Yeah. And I've been, just last 2 nights, I've been at the Comedy Attic in the Grass Market, which, it's a small room. And on Friday I had 1 stag do of 16. And last night I had 3 stag doos. Oh, right. And both gigs are absolutely beautiful. Yeah. In fact, on the Friday, the stag doos were probably... The guys in the stag were probably the most restrained members of the audience.
Wow. I mean, saying something.
No, I think now stag doos just go because that's what they want to do. They want to go and see a show.
Yeah. There's that. I think you'll hear a lot of the compers they'll be slagging stag doos for being boring now. Yeah, that's a lot of the things you hear. Yeah. People just going, oh, right, you're going to go and do an escape room? And they go, yeah, we're just in an escape room. And it's that's the kind of tame, quite middle-class stag doos that are going to comedy now. Yeah.
Now, when was it? It was last summer, probably around about this time last year. I was doing the 5 o'clock show at the Monkey Barrel. Yeah. And Liam with Neil was comparing, and there was a stag do. Again, that very, very well behaved, boring stag do.
Yeah.
And Liam went on about how boring they were. Actually, that prompted them to become more and more interesting as the show went on.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck's sake, Liam, you blew it.
I think that was the 5 o'clock show, so they probably actually were still hungover and were having their hair of the dog during that show. So actually, they perked up by the end.
Yeah, they were just
Perked up a bit too much.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I see where you're going with that. I'm hosting the 5 p.m. next Saturday at Monkey Bar, and I'm like, I just know I'm walking into stag do's. My first one, and I just know there's going to be stag do's.
But they should be okay at 5. That's the thing.
I've never had to deal with. I've dealt with stag do's like doing like a 10-15 minute set. I've never had to compare with stag do's.
Yeah.
So this will probably be my first test of that.
But,
So
but the 5 o'clock, although, having said that, 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon at the Edinburgh Fringe, that can be the most raucous audience you can possibly get.
yeah,
Because it's always people from like small town Scotland
yes, yeah.
who've been
The
in the
Falkirks, the people on the
or
Central
even
train
longer, like air.
line. Yeah.
Because the longer the journey, the drunker they are when they get to Waverley.
So it's interesting. So you're doing your Fringe show this year. What's the title of it this year?
The title of I'm doing 3 things this year. One with you,
we're doing
which we might as well plug for both of us.
60 minutes about Scotland.
60 minutes about Scotland. 4:30 at the Dragonfly.
Dragonfly. We will see you there.
And I'm doing the early late show, 2:45 at the Three Sisters in Maggie's front room. That's kind of mixture of stand-up chat, few wee improv games, things like that. It's very much it's a bit like this.
Yeah.
Except with more than one person in the audience. Well, you can't guarantee. You can't guarantee.
Today. Hello, you and thanks for coming.
Yes, we couldn't have done it without you. The early late show started its life actually as an online show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did it during lockdown, and we thought the format worked quite well. Should we carry that on? And then I'm doing my solo show at the Stan's Newtown Theatre at 7:10, and that's called The End of the Beginning of the End. I'm not absolutely certain why now. Because the thing about February, you kind of have to think of a title.
Yeah.
I couldn't really think of one. And last year's show was called The Beginning of the End, so I'll just call this The End of the Beginning of the End. Next year I'm thinking of doing The Beginning of the End of the End of the Beginning. And people say, is that not what you did last year?
You're like, just get on board with it.
Yeah.
You always like to do like some form of like Scottish-based commentary, political.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that always? Do you find you enjoy that most?
it's what I write.
Yeah.
I think like everybody, you write about what you know and you write about what's happening around you. And I'm interested in politics and I'm Scottish and I live in Scotland. And of course, there are times when there's certain issues you can't go near, but certain things can be a bit niche for certain. I mean, like, for example, you're doing anything about Scottish politics, that kind of doesn't work in England.
No.
Also, I found writing this year's show, there's just a lot less politics in it. And I think because we went through that period where politics was so entertaining,
Yeah, it was, wasn't
whether
it?
you were interested in it or not.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's become really dull.
Yeah, it's so, and you've got Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, the two most boring men on earth, trying to out boring each other.
Well, yeah,
for the same votes in Middle England.
Yeah. And the thing about
all it is.
Sunak is there's something robotic about him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to find out years down the line that he had been an experiment in artificial intelligence, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I mean, we had that glorious period in the autumn, obviously, of Liz Truss. That was
was
fab. That was,
fucking,
it was absolutely brilliant. And, I couldn't stand the guy. But the thing about Boris Johnson was, the comedy wrote itself.
It was never ending.
It was never ending, yeah.
It was never ending. Even still now.
Yeah,
He's not in politics technically, and he's still giving you stuff. And you're like, my God, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose it is kind of just that. It's a constant
Yeah.
source of material, but the material has almost become like,
Yeah, and
compared to the Trump-Boris years,
Yeah.
it's just not as exciting.
yeah, and the whole political scene in Scotland is just going a bit weird. And I kind of find that audiences don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's that they're just tired of it all. I think people just don't understand enough about, like, for example, I mean, I can't work out what the fuck the cops are doing with.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be very surprised. I'd bet money that no one will ever be charged with this SNP thing. But I think the public, I've been doing material about it, but the public just aren't picking up on it. And I think it's because they're either kind of disgruntled SNP supporters who kind of agree with what I'm saying, or they're unionists who think, well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I actually read this a couple of weeks ago, and Police Scotland have actually admitted this. It's not like somebody's found this out. They've now spent more than £100,000 more
On looking into it.
on looking into it. So they've spent £700,000 trying to find out what happened to £600,000. Because £600,000 is small change in terms of finances of a political party. I mean, that's good. I mean,
Like when you hear all the sums that Westminster have
yeah,
been accused of.
the
Billions that have gone missing.
Yeah, but also the dodgy money that's pumped into the Tory party from,
Russia.
Russia, exactly. Yeah. And fucking hell, they're just investigating six. Oh, God, they're sending 4 police cars round to arrest Nicola Sturgeon. I mean, fucking, do you think the guy was going to make a run for it?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't really look like an athlete, does he, Peter Murrow?
He's running anywhere.
No, I think, well, any cop should be able to catch him, put it that way.
It's funny you bring up Russia. It's funny to see you now doing it, talking about in your set about giving yourself the stage name.
Oh, yeah.
Vladimir.
Yeah.
Has there been any points over the years where you're like, I really wish I wasn't doing having the name Vladimir?
Oh, several times. I mean, if I had my time over again, and let's face it, we've all had these thoughts.
Yeah.
If you had your time over again, you'd do everything differently. And that is one thing I definitely would do differently.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have that name, but it's too late now.
Or even just like a stage name. Are you kind of this like? Would you wish you just kind of gone with your real name the whole way through, or are you kind of glad you've had that Vladimir?
I think if I had my time differently, I'd have I'd probably. I'll do the joke first.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my real name's very dull, and so I thought this 25 years ago, whenever it was, when I started doing stand-up, I thought, I'll get a stage name, and Vladimir McTavish. That's kind of incongruous and snappy, and people kind of remember it. And it was fine for about 24 years until March of last year. The name Vladimir suddenly became very toxic. So I thought I'd go back to using my real name. Only trouble is my real name is Andrew Tate. Hey, you. No, it's a joke. That is a joke. But, no, because my real name's Paul Snedden, right?
Yeah.
And that is an incredibly dull name. And when I joined Equity, I joined as Paul Snedden. I think now I probably would have used my mother's maiden name.
Right, okay.
Which is McGregor.
Right.
And I think Paul McGregor would have been a much better name.
Do you think having a stage name is the psychology of it, does it ever make you think, like, I can say stuff because it's not...
Oh, yeah,
it's not Paul Snedden is saying it.
Absolutely. We all are different people on stage.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
And I think it just makes that shift a little bit easier.
Yeah.
On top of that, the one thing about it is people get a bit confused, think it's a character, and it isn't. It's just a stage name.
It's just you doing it.
And of course, I've muddied the waters further by then doing character comedy.
Yeah. People can't figure you out, Bob.
Yeah, exactly. What the fuck's... Who is...
So he's kind of talked about, you kind of done like comedy, like Dumfries, talked about the Fringe. You've done comedy abroad as well, haven't you? So I found, I kind of do a bit of digging around guests, a wee bit of a Google search. It says you've done comedy in Kuwait.
That's right, yeah.
Was that like, what's happening over there? How did comedy end up over there?
How comedy ended up over there was, well, it didn't. Basically, the guy we gigged for in Kuwait was a British expat, guy called Colin somebody from Perth.
Right, okay.
And he wanted to put some comedy shows on for expats. Because there's a huge expat community out there.
Yeah.
And he got in touch with Bruce Fumi, who at the time was promoting gigs in Perth.
Right.
Because he wanted someone from Perth.
Keep it.
So it was myself, Bruce Fumi, and Bruce Morton went out and did these shoots. And the guy, I think, had lined up other expats. I think mainly Scottish. We did a show in Dubai and one in Abu Dhabi as well.
Yeah.
The same week. It was kind of
A wee tour.
big tour, yeah. Kind of round the Muslim weekend. So I think we came back on the Saturday.
Right, okay.
That was weird. We did the gig in a guy's house.
What?
Yeah. Well, that's because these guys, I mean, the only reason people go to Kuwait is to make money.
Yeah.
It's basically,
You're not there for the scenery.
No, and you're not there for the lifestyle or anything. It's nothing. It's really dull. Nothing. I mean, basically, well, drinks illegal, and they were the audience was absolutely hammered. Yeah.
Just like in this guy's house, he's got like
Yeah,
self-serve
this guy's
bar.
house, and we said, "Look, what happens if the cops come?" Because he was a bit worried about making too much noise
Right.
in case the cops came round. So what happens if the cops come around? They just tell you to turn the noise down. So what you would try? They just turn the blind out. There's Westerners usually. I think if locals drink, then they're in serious trouble.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and also on top of that, I think. I remember us having a clandestine meeting in the street with an army officer who was selling Colin or giving Colin a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of vodka because in military bases, they can do what they like.
Right, okay.
Military bases are sovereign territory of
Yeah, I suppose,
whatever
they're
that
out with
country
the law.
is.
Yeah.
And I think likewise the embassies are the same because the two of the drunkest people at the gig were the ambassador and his wife. We had this massive domestic bust up.
No way.
Yeah, his diplomatic skills.
Middle of the gig.
Well, no, I think afterwards. It turned out a
Right.
bit of a session afterwards, and yeah, there's a massive bust out. So obviously his diplomatic skills didn't extend to his own marriage. But oh God, I mean, now what else did they have? They had homebrewed beer, which was foul. Homebrewed wine, and then ethanol.
Shit. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, when we got there about 3 a.m, and still boiling hot. You know, it's like when you've been on a long flight, you just really do with the beer. And this guy picked us up and just dropped us in this apartment, which had nothing in it. Well, it had beds, and that was it.
Yeah.
And apart from a bottle of ethanol and a bottle of Coke in the fridge.
Wow, that
And
is a rough mixer. That
He
is.
said, yeah, bottle of ethanol there, lads. How you drink it is you just dilute it 1-to-1 with water, then add your mixer. Because basically it's vodka but twice as strong.
Yeah.
And I think it's rocket fuel or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, something
That's
like
the
that.
thing. If you have that straight, you're fucked.
Oh God, yeah. But they were drinking it. I mean, I'd never touched it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'd be like, that's about
Yep.
too far for me.
Yep.
Shit. Wow.
And this is a true story as well. I have told it on stage. They actually asked us beforehand, got in touch to ask, because you can't eat pork's illegal as well.
All right.
And these guys actually asked us to smuggle pork pies. And they could,
Pork pie. That's the lamest smuggling ever.
I know pork pies. There you go. Try and get 6 pork pies in a condom up your arse. But yeah, I've used that story since. No, but it's absolutely straight up true. Yeah, Kuwait, Dubai's a bit fan of Dubai either. Abu Dhabi I quite liked.
Yeah.
It was kind of a bit more normal. And in other times, I've been a couple of times to Bahrain, and I quite like that. And it was...
Yeah, some of the ones, there's like you say, there's not the people are only out there for money.
Yeah.
There's no scenery, there's no life, there's no culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of feels quite soulless.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, I mean...
I've never been, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going by what everyone
Yeah,
else
and
says.
people are out there to make money. Dubai is people are there to show off money. It's just a horrible place.
Yeah,
Dubai.
that's my idea of hell, being stuck around pretentious people with too
Yeah.
much money. Like that's my least favourite person on earth is those stuck up wanks.
Yeah.
And that's a whole city of them.
Yeah.
Oh Christ, that's my idea of hell.
I'm not sure that's their, when you get the city limits, if that is the actual strapline, welcome to Dubai, city of stuck-up wags.
Where would you say is probably your favourite place to gig, maybe outside of Scotland?
Outside of Scotland, I like gigging in London. I really
Yeah?
do, yeah. I mean, I like being in London, because I lived there for 5 years when I kind of, just after I started doing stand-up. So I kind of started out in Newcastle, I moved to London after a couple of years and then was there. And part of that, Newcastle, I loved going back to Newcastle. I mean, partly because, let's say, that's where I started out, but I still got loads of mates there.
Yeah.
And also Geordie Oddies is a fab.
Yeah. That's the thing. You kind of go, you kind of go there based on how good the audiences are.
Yeah.
And that's it in your mind. It's so weird that just somehow places like Dundee, like that, they can just have like a really nice audience, and you just like you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
But that coffee shop gig
Oh yeah, that's a great gig.
that used to be like that was one of my favourites. And I'm just like, this is such a good gig.
Tell you who was once in the front row of that gig was Hamza Yusuf.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's about you. Oh.
For context, that is now the First Minister of Scotland.
Yeah, no, big comedy fan.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I once did a gig in Derry, and apparently I did this gig several times. It was booked by a guy called Jackie Hamilton, who used to book the Belfast Empire. He used to run the Belfast Empire. He was the guy who started the Belfast Empire, basically. And Jackie used to also book a gig in Derry on the Wednesday night. So you do Belfast on Tuesday, Derry on the Wednesday. And the pub in Derry was a pub called the Delacroix, which was right on the edge of the Bogside. And it was just straight down the line, Republican pub. To the extent that Martin McGuinness often used to be in the front row. I was never did a gig with Martin McGuinness.
That's a daunting front row.
Fucking was, yeah. Because I think at the time it was before, and this was in the days before Martin McGuinness had kind of softened up and
He softened up, yeah.
I think it's when he was still in the IRA.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Fucking. Have you ever had any other kind of famous people in the audiences?
Alex McLeish.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. He was he came to see a Bob Doolally show.
No way.
Yeah. In fairness, I mean, he didn't randomly come.
Yeah.
It was when he was manager of Hibs, and I'd done a dinner at Easter Road, and I did this bit about this halftime team talk that was just full of fucking swearing and getting cunt out of those fuckers. And he came up to me and says, "That was brilliant." So I was just like, that was like what it was like when we were players.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
See,
he came
that's
to a Bob Doolally show, and at the end of a Bob Doolally Fringe show, I always have a question and answer with the audience.
Yeah.
And Big Eck was right in the middle of the front row.
So this is an ex-Scotland manager for anyone that doesn't know Alex McLeish. And managed loads of other clubs.
Yeah, Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Birmingham City.
Yeah.
Hibs.
Yeah.
Team in Glasgow we won't mention. Scotland.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the question and answer session at the end, he asked me a question because he wanted me to do that material about the halftime team talk. Yeah.
Tell you what, Paul, this is kind of just about to kind of wrap up just now.
Cool.
Thanks very much for coming in. This has been brilliant. Just before you go, there's a few last little bits. I asked basically a guest to recommend a guest or suggest a guest that I should try and get on for a future episode.
Right.
Any comedians you like that you think I should try and get on, and I'll try and get them on a future episode.
Yeah. Well, Gavin Webster, that's one for a start.
Perfect. We'll do Gav.
Yeah.
Excellent. Love it.
Are you doing this during the Fringe?
I am, yeah.
Right. Because it would be great to get somebody like Simon Murray or Stuart Lee on.
I mean, Stuart Lee, I'll try and get him out there.
Yeah. I'm sure Simon would do it because he's up for doing it.
Yeah.
Someone else who's around during the Fringe, he's doing the show after me, Robin Ince.
Robin Ince?
Yeah.
Shit, yeah. Okay, yeah. I've not seen Robin play live in years. I saw him opening for Ricky Gervais at the Playhouse.
Yeah.
All those years ago. I don't know if he still opens for him. I don't think he does now, does he? Yeah. Robin Ince, love it.
Yep.
3 great names there. Excellent. And anything else? So give it a chance for
Davy Mitchell.
Davy Mitchell.
Max Starr.
Max Starr. This is another name that's come up.
I mean, that's a podcast in itself.
Yeah. And then the final thing is just if you've any kind of like TV, books, films that you've watched recently, you think, I love that. I would want more people to hear about it if there's anything you've watched or listened to.
I just think recently, comedy TV, The Kaminsky Method. Have you seen that? It's on Netflix. I saw that on a long haul flight coming back from Australia in 2020. That's right, because just before lockdown. And they've now made 3 series of it. Michael Douglas, which I've never seen Michael Douglas do comedy before. He's absolutely brilliant.
No, he could.
No. It's basically Michael Douglas is this... We don't know if he's a failed actor or not.
Right.
But all the clues are there that he's actually not been that good an actor.
Right,
and he runs an acting school.
Ah, okay. Right.
He runs an acting school, and Alan Alda is his agent.
So it's the Kavinsky method.
The Kaminsky Method. Right. Michael Douglas's character is called Sandy Kaminsky. So,
right, okay. Perfect.
It's great. Really, really hilarious stuff. And that's a revelation watching Michael Douglas doing comedy.
Yeah, didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, brilliant. And little cameos from various big Hollywood names. Samuel L. Jackson does a cameo in it. Never been. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson's been in some shit, but he's always been brilliant in it.
He can carry anything.
Yeah, exactly. And he's brilliant in this.
Right, I'll give it a watch. That sounds brilliant. We'll encourage other people to give it a watch as well. But yeah, Paul, thank you very much for coming.
It's been a pleasure, Ralph.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. Cheers.